The sky was a soft pastel blue as the alien ship descended slowly over the edge of Earth's atmosphere. Its surface reflected the sunlight in a way that shimmered like water, and inside the visitors watched with wide, curious eyes. They had traveled across galaxies, seen countless worlds, and yet nothing had prepared them for the sight before them. Below, forests stretched endlessly, rolling over hills and valleys, dotted with sparkling lakes and rivers. Mountains rose like silent giants in the distance, their snow-capped peaks glinting in the sun. From their ship, the world looked calm, peaceful, almost safe. "This is remarkable," said Kalia, a tall, slender alien with translucent skin that pulsed with color when excited. "The surface is rich, vibrant. But where are the dangers?" Her companion Tyrion nodded, scanning the forest with multiple eyes. "We expected predators, hazards, something that would test our skills. This looks almost tame." Dr. Mara Lynn, the human guide assigned to them, smiled quietly. She had anticipated this reaction. From the moment the aliens had learned they would visit Earth, she knew they would misunderstand one simple truth. Earth is not harmless. "Not everything is as gentle as it seems," Mara said, her tone light but with a hidden edge of caution. "You are seeing only the first layer. Earth has depth, layers of life that can surprise even the most experienced traveler." The aliens tilted their heads, curious. Their species relied heavily on logic and observation, and Mara's warning piqued their interest. "You will see," she continued, "that humans live alongside creatures that are very different from those you have encountered in other systems. But we have learned how to coexist, how to understand them, and how to survive." Kelia let out a sound that Mara interpreted as amusement. "Survive? You mean hunt or avoid?" Mara shook her head gently. "Not always hunting. Sometimes understanding is enough. Knowledge can be stronger than strength." With that, the ship landed softly in a clearing near a river, the blades of grass brushing the landing gear as if welcoming them. The aliens stepped out, their movements careful but curious. They had studied humans from afar, but now up close the details were astonishing. Human bodies were relatively fragile compared to theirs, yet they moved with confidence, blending in with the environment rather than dominating it. Mara led them toward the forest edge. Birds called out from the treetops, a symphony of sound that filled the air. Squirrels darted between the branches and deer grazed nearby, barely noticing the new arrivals. The aliens' eyes widened at the sight. "These creatures, they do not seem dangerous at all," Tyrion remarked, voice filled with wonder. "They appear weak, vulnerable." Mara laughed softly. "They may look harmless, but you would be surprised how strong and clever life on Earth can be. Survival is not always about brute strength." As they walked, Mara pointed out signs of animal life. Tracks in the mud, feathers caught on branches, small burrows along the riverbank. She explained how humans had learned to read these signs for generations, understanding the patterns of movement, feeding habits, and behavior of the animals around them. "These tracks," she said, crouching beside a trail, belonged to a fox. "See how it curves?" The fox moved carefully, checking for danger. Humans can read these signs and predict what the fox might do next. It's not magic, it's observation, patience, and understanding. The aliens listened intently. They had never considered that intelligence could be applied in such a way. In their worlds, power often came from technology or sheer physical ability. Here they saw a different kind of strength, knowledge born from living closely with other creatures. Hours passed as they wandered through the forest. Mara told stories of humans and animals, showing how humans had learned to coexist with species far larger and stronger than themselves. She spoke of wolves that hunted in packs, bears that roamed the mountains, and birds of prey that commanded the skies. Each story carried a lesson. Humans survived not because they were the strongest, but because they observed, adapted, and respected the rules of nature. The aliens were fascinated but still skeptical. "These stories are interesting," Kelia said, "but the predators you describe, we do not see them. Are they not dangerous?" Mara smiled knowingly. "Not all dangers are visible at first glance. Some reveal themselves only when you are ready, or when you step too close. But humans have developed ways to anticipate, to protect, and to respond. That is what makes them special." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in streaks of orange and pink, Mara led the group to a small clearing near a lake. The water was clear, reflecting the colors of the sky like a mirror. A family of ducks glided across the surface, leaving gentle ripples behind. "This lake," Mara said, kneeling at the edge. Seems calm, but it is full of life you cannot always see. Fish, insects, plants, all interacting in ways that humans have studied for centuries. We have learned to navigate, to fish, and to protect ourselves even in these waters. There is balance here, but you must respect it. The aliens bent closer to the water, peering into the shimmering depths. They were impressed by the complexity of life in such a small area. Tyron reached out a hand, hesitating to touch the surface, but Mara stopped him. Patience, she advised. Observation comes first. Understanding comes next. Touching without knowing can disrupt more than you realize. The aliens listened, a new kind of respect forming in their minds. They had seen many planets, many life forms, but here on Earth, humans had developed a relationship with their world that was both subtle and extraordinary. Night began to fall, and the forest transformed. Fireflies blinked like tiny stars, and the distant hoot of an owl echoed through the trees. Mara set up a small campfire, the warm glow casting shadows across the faces of the visitors. Tomorrow, she said, her voice calm but serious, I will show you more. You will see creatures that are clever, fast, and powerful. You may think they are harmless at first, but you will learn to appreciate the respect humans have for them. And later, we will go to the oceans. That is where Earth's true lessons begin. The aliens exchanged glances. The oceans vast, deep, and unknown. They had never considered the scale of a single planet's waters. Already a sense of excitement and uncertainty filled the air. As they settled near the fire, Mara watched the stars emerge one by one. From this quiet spot, it was easy to forget the vastness of space, the millions of worlds they had crossed. Yet she knew Earth had something unique, something that no technology, no fleet, and no advanced weapon could replicate. Humans themselves were the key, the bridge between knowledge and survival, between curiosity and respect for life. The aliens, feeling a mix of awe and wonder, realized that their journey was only beginning. They had arrived expecting a gentle, safe planet. Instead, they found a world alive with complexity, beauty, and hidden power. Mara smiled to herself. They thought Earth's predators were harmless, but soon they would learn how humans thrived not because the world was safe, but because they understood it, and that was a strength unlike any other. The night deepened, the forest breathing softly around them, and the humans and aliens alike drifted into sleep under the stars. Tomorrow, Mara promised, would reveal another layer of Earth, one that would test perceptions, challenge assumptions, and leave the visitors marveling at the intelligence and resilience of humanity. And so, under a sky glittering with distant suns, part one of their journey ended. But the adventure had only just begun. The morning sun filtered through the dense canopy of the forest, casting golden streaks across the forest floor. Birds chirped their morning songs, and the rustle of leaves marked the movement of small animals waking for the day. Dr. Mara Lynn led the alien visitors along a narrow, winding trail, pointing out signs of life as they walked. This forest has many layers, Mara began, her voice calm but full of purpose. You may see only what is in front of you, but there is much more happening than you can immediately perceive. Each creature has its own habits, its own rules, and humans have learned to understand them. Kelia leaned forward, her eyes wide with curiosity. But we see only small animals so far. Where are the predators? Mara smiled, anticipating this question. They are all around us. You may not notice them at first, but they exist. Humans have survived among predators not by being stronger, but by understanding them. She stopped by a large tree and pointed to a set of tracks in the soft mud. These belong to a wolf, she explained. See the shape of the prints? See how they are spaced? Humans can read this and know how fast the animal moves, where it is going, and even what it is hunting. The aliens bent down, studying the tracks. They had never considered that a simple mark on the ground could tell such a detailed story. Tyron tapped a claw against the mud thoughtfully. Your species reads signs instead of chasing? This is unusual. Not unusual, Mara corrected gently. It is clever. Humans use observation to predict, to avoid unnecessary danger, and sometimes to help other creatures. Understanding patterns is more important than raw strength. As they moved deeper into the forest, Mara told stories of the land predators that called this place home. She spoke of the wolves in the northern forests, the mountain lions that leapt silently through the shadows, and the bears that roamed the mountains in search of food. Each tale was a lesson in awareness, patience, and respect. You might think these predators are only dangerous, Mara said. but they are also intelligent, adaptive, and remarkable. Humans survive not by fearing them, but by learning their behaviors, by knowing when to observe and when to act. The aliens listened intently. Kellia tilted her head. So humans do not fight these creatures? Sometimes, Mara replied, but often humans avoid conflict through understanding. For example, a wolf pack moves with a pattern, a rhythm. Humans can follow those patterns, and by doing so they can coexist without harm. Suddenly, a rustle in the undergrowth caught their attention. A fox darted across the path, its red fur shining in the sunlight. The aliens gasped, marveling at its speed and grace. See? Mara whispered. Not all animals show themselves clearly. They are careful, intelligent, and constantly observing. Humans have learned to do the same. The group continued their hike, moving toward a rocky hillside where mountain goats and deer grazed cautiously. Mara explained how humans understood the delicate balance of predator and prey, how every creature played a role in the ecosystem. The aliens began to see the depth of human skill, not in raw power, but in knowledge, observation, and adaptability. Hours later, Mara led them to a clearing where a group of wolves could be seen in the distance. The aliens froze, their senses heightened. The wolves were large, with sharp eyes and strong bodies, but they moved with precision, almost like dancers rehearsing a careful routine. These are land predators, Mara said softly. Watch, but do not interfere. The aliens watched as the wolves coordinated quietly, their movements precise and purposeful. Mara explained the wolves' hunting strategies, their communication methods, and the way they cared for one another. The aliens were fascinated, but also increasingly aware of the human skill in observing these patterns. They are clever, Kellia admitted, but humans read them, understand them, and move safely among them. This is impressive, Mara nodded. It is. Humans have developed ways to coexist with creatures stronger and faster than themselves. This is not by chance. It is through intelligence, patience, and respect. As the day progressed, the aliens began to see more examples of human ingenuity. Mara led them to a river where beavers had built an elaborate dam. She explained how humans studied these constructions to understand animal behavior and to learn how to live sustainably within their environment. You see, Mara said, humans are part of this ecosystem. We observe, we learn, and we adapt. Strength alone does not ensure survival. Understanding does. The aliens were silent for a moment, digesting her words. For their species, survival often depended on technology or brute strength. Here, on Earth, survival depended on something subtler: wisdom, awareness, and respect for the balance of life. As evening approached, Mara led them to a hillside overlooking the forest. The sun was low, casting a warm golden glow across the treetops. In the distance, a bear lumbered through the trees, its massive frame moving with surprising grace. See that? Mara asked. Strength, yes, but also intelligence. Every move is measured, every choice deliberate. Humans study these creatures, learning when to observe, when to retreat, and when it is safe to act. The aliens watched in awe. They had encountered creatures across galaxies, but never had they seen such harmony between strength, intelligence, and the environment. Kellia spoke softly, almost to herself. Humans, they are not just surviving. They are thriving. They understand life in a way we did not anticipate. Mara smiled. Exactly. Survival is not only about being strong. It is about being smart, careful, and aware. Humans have learned to read signs, to anticipate patterns, and to respect the world around them. That is why we can coexist with predators that would be dangerous to others. Night fell, and the forest transformed into a symphony of sounds. Crickets chirping, owls hooting, and distant howls echoing from the hills. The aliens listened, captivated, realizing that every sound carried meaning, every movement had purpose. Mara set up a small campfire, its warm glow illuminating the group. Tomorrow, she said, we will explore other parts of this forest, and I will show you even more remarkable creatures. But always remember, understanding and respect are more powerful than fear. Humans survive not because we are the strongest, but because we are the most aware. The aliens settled around the fire, their thoughts filled with wonder. They had arrived thinking Earth's predators were harmless. Now they were beginning to understand the depth of human skill, intelligence, and intuition. Under the stars, Mara watched them quietly. She knew that tomorrow's lessons would challenge their perceptions even more. Humans had mastered survival not through domination, but through observation, adaptation, and respect for the creatures around them. That was a lesson worth more than any weapon, more than any technology. And so, as the night deepened, the aliens drifted into sleep, their minds alive with new understanding. They had come expecting a gentle, safe planet. Instead, they had discovered a world filled with complexity, intelligence, and strength, the quiet, clever strength of humans. Mara smiled softly to herself. Earth's predators were not harmless, but humans had learned to live among them with skill and wisdom. That truth, she knew, would leave a lasting impression on the visitors. Tomorrow, she promised, would reveal another layer of Earth, another lesson in the cleverness and resilience of humanity. And so ended Part 2, with the aliens beginning to realize that humans were not just survivors. They were masters of understanding, guardians of balance, and witnesses to the subtle, astonishing power of life. The first light of dawn shimmered on the surface of the ocean, turning it into a vast canvas of gold and silver. Waves lapped gently against the shore, and the smell of salt filled the air. Dr. Mara Lynn led the alien visitors down a sandy path toward the water. Their eyes widened at the sight. None had seen a body of water so immense. "This is Earth's oceans," Mara said, her voice soft but commanding. "They are home to many creatures, some gentle, some clever, and some very powerful. What you see on the surface is only a small part of the story." The aliens stepped closer, their feet sinking into the warm sand. Kalia bent forward, gazing at the endless expanse. "It is enormous. Nothing like this exists on our homeworld. How do humans live near such a place?" Mara smiled. Carefully. "Humans have studied these waters for generations. We know the currents, the tides, the behavior of the creatures within. Knowledge keeps us safe." Tyrion touched the water cautiously. "It feels calm." Harmless, Mara shook her head slightly. "Appearances can be deceiving. The ocean is full of life that moves unseen beneath the waves. Some creatures are gentle and curious, while others are fast, clever, and unpredictable. Humans respect the ocean because we know we are not the strongest beings here. Intelligence and awareness are our guides." The aliens followed Mara to a small research boat. She showed them simple instruments humans use to study marine life: sonar devices, nets for observation, and underwater cameras. "We observe first," she explained. "We do not interfere unnecessarily. By understanding the patterns of life in the ocean, humans have learned to coexist safely and responsibly." As the boat glided over the water, Mara pointed to a pod of dolphins leaping gracefully in the distance. Their sleek bodies cut through the waves with ease, and their playful behavior fascinated the aliens. "Dolphins are intelligent," Mara said. "They communicate, cooperate, and solve problems. Humans have learned to observe them, to study their behavior, and to respect their space. We are not their masters. We are visitors." Kalia tilted her head. "They seem friendly, almost like your wolves from the forest but in the water." "Exactly," Mara replied. "Every creature has its place. Humans do not dominate, but we adapt. We respect life, whether it walks, flies, or swims." The boat moved further, and Mara pointed toward the deeper waters. "Look carefully. See those shadows moving below the surface? They are schools of fish working together to protect themselves from predators. Humans have learned to read these movements, to predict how the ocean life responds, and to avoid unnecessary risks." The aliens watched silently, their senses absorbing every detail. For their species, oceans had always been shallow, predictable, and controlled. This vast living expanse was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Suddenly, a large shape glided beneath the boat. The water rippled, and the boat rocked slightly. Tyrion gasped. "What is that?" Mara pointed. "That is a shark. It is not mindless or aggressive without reason. It hunts carefully, efficiently, and with purpose. Humans respect its power. We do not approach carelessly, and we do not underestimate it. Observation, preparation, and understanding keep us safe." The aliens stared in awe. They had seen predators before, but the ocean presented a new challenge, one that humans had mastered with subtle skill rather than force. As the day progressed, Mara led the group through an underwater observation area. They watched through glass panels as schools of fish darted in unison, as octopuses changed colors and patterns to communicate, and as sea turtles glided gracefully over coral reefs. The aliens were amazed by the diversity, the intelligence, and the adaptability of life beneath the waves. "Humans have learned to read these patterns," Mara explained. "We know which areas are safe to explore, which creatures are likely to be nearby, and how to move without causing harm. Our strength lies not in size or speed, but in knowledge, observation, and respect for life." Kelya whispered. The ocean. It is alive in ways we did not imagine. So many creatures, all interacting, all aware. Exactly, Mara said. And humans are part of that awareness. We adapt, we learn, and we coexist. That is why Earth's oceans can be dangerous if you are careless, but safe if you understand them. Later, Mara guided them to a shallow cove where humans often trained for swimming, diving, and observing marine life. Small children played in the water, laughing and splashing, while researchers studied the movements of crabs, fish, and seabirds. Humans grow up learning respect for the ocean, Mara said. We learn its patterns, its moods, and its creatures from a young age. This knowledge becomes part of us, shaping how we live safely in a world full of potential dangers. The aliens watched the humans interact with the water, noticing the care and attention in every action. Tyron spoke quietly. This is unlike any place we have visited. The creatures are intelligent, the humans are aware. It is harmonious, Mara nodded. It is harmony born from understanding. Humans do not fear blindly, nor do we dominate recklessly. We respect, we observe, and we adapt. That is our strength. As the sun began to set, painting the ocean in hues of orange and purple, Mara led the aliens to a cliff overlooking the water. Waves crashed against the rocks far below, spraying mist into the air. Tomorrow, Mara said, we will explore deeper parts of the ocean. You will see creatures that are even more powerful, more intelligent, and more challenging to understand. But remember what you have learned today. Intelligence, observation, and respect will guide you. The aliens gazed out at the endless water, feeling a mix of awe and humility. The oceans were vast, alive, and full of lessons. They had assumed the water was harmless, but now they understood it demanded knowledge, awareness, and respect, qualities humans possessed in abundance. That night, as they camped near the cliffs, the sound of waves echoed like a gentle heartbeat. The aliens sat quietly, absorbing the lessons of the day. Mara watched them, sensing their growing understanding. Humans had mastered survival on land, and now they were revealing the secrets of the ocean, a place where strength alone could not ensure safety. Kelya broke the silence, her voice soft. We thought Earth's predators were harmless, but we were wrong. Humans understand life in ways we cannot yet fully grasp. Mara smiled. And that is the key. Strength, speed, or size are not always enough. Humans thrive because we understand our world. We read the signs, we adapt, and we respect life in all its forms. That is why Earth is a safe home for humans, even among creatures that could be dangerous if misunderstood. The night deepened, the stars reflecting on the calm surface of the ocean. The aliens, feeling both humbled and inspired, realized that they had much to learn from humans, not just about surviving on Earth, but about living in harmony with a world full of intelligence, life, and subtle power. Mara looked out over the water, knowing that the next day would test their perceptions even further. The ocean held wonders, challenges, and lessons beyond their imagination. But she also knew that the aliens were beginning to understand the human way, to survive and thrive not through fear or dominance, but through intelligence, awareness, and respect. And so, under the quiet, infinite sky, Part 3 came to a close. The aliens had seen the ocean's beauty and complexity, and they had learned that humans' greatest strength was their understanding of life itself, a strength that could guide them safely through the vast, unpredictable world of Earth. The morning sun reflected off the calm surface of the ocean, turning it into a glittering field of light. Dr. Mara Lynn guided the aliens onto the research boat, their eyes wide with curiosity. Today, she explained, they would explore deeper waters and observe how humans interact with the ocean's challenges, not just its beauty. This will show you how humans combine knowledge, skill, and teamwork, Mara said. Even when nature becomes unpredictable, we adapt and thrive. Kelya leaned over the railing, scanning the waves. We have seen intelligence in humans before, but you speak as though there is more. What do you mean? Mara smiled. You will see soon enough. The ocean can be calm one moment and unpredictable the next. Humans learn to respond, not react blindly. That is how we survive. The boat moved steadily through the water, guided by Mara and the human crew. Beneath them, schools of fish glimmered like liquid silver, and dolphins leapt in graceful arcs. The aliens marveled at the harmony, but Mara's tone carried a quiet warning. Even in beauty there is challenge, she said. The ocean demands awareness, quick thinking, and cooperation. Humans have developed these skills over millennia, Hours into the journey, dark clouds appeared on the horizon. The wind picked up and small waves began to rise. Mara pointed to the approaching weather. This storm will test our skills. Watch closely how humans respond. The aliens observed as the crew sprang into action. Lines were secured, sails adjusted, and the boat's position carefully controlled. Mara moved with calm authority, issuing instructions that the crew followed precisely. Every movement was deliberate, efficient, and coordinated. Tyrion tilted his head. They are not panicking. Yet the storm is strong. How do they do this? Mara nodded. Through preparation, experience, and teamwork. Humans anticipate challenges and respond with skill. Panic rarely helps. Knowledge and practice do. The wind grew stronger and waves slapped against the boat. The aliens clutched the railings, feeling a mixture of fear and fascination. Mara explained the strategy. Each crew member had a role. Each task had a purpose, and all movements were synchronized to ensure safety and progress. Observe the way humans communicate, Mara said. We use words, gestures, and signals to convey precise meaning. Each person understands their role and trusts the others to perform theirs. That trust, combined with knowledge, allows us to succeed where force alone would fail. A sudden wave rocked the boat, splashing over the deck. The aliens gasped, but the crew reacted immediately. Mara helped stabilize the vessel, showing the aliens that control did not come from strength but from awareness and quick, correct action. You see, she said, strength alone would not protect us. Awareness, intelligence, and teamwork do. As the storm intensified, Mara guided the aliens to assist in small ways, handing tools, observing patterns in the waves, and noting the behavior of marine life affected by the storm. Even in their limited capacity, they began to understand the human approach. Calm, careful, intelligent action under pressure. Hours passed, and the storm slowly began to subside. The boat had endured without harm thanks to preparation, observation, and cooperation. The aliens were silent, digesting what they had witnessed. They had expected the humans to struggle, but instead they had seen mastery in action. Kelia finally spoke, her voice filled with awe. Human, they did not dominate the storm. They adapted, guided by knowledge and skill. This is remarkable, Mara smiled. That is how humans survive in all challenges. On land, in forests, near predators, and in oceans, we rely on observation, understanding, and cooperation. Strength alone is not enough. After the storm, the boat approached a calmer area, a lagoon where marine life thrived. Mara pointed to a group of sea turtles gliding slowly near the surface. Even here, humans practice awareness. We observe their movements, study patterns, and ensure we do not disrupt their world. Intelligence is not only for survival, it is for harmony. The aliens marveled at the sight. The turtles moved with grace and purpose, seemingly unbothered by the humans nearby. Mara explained how humans tracked their migration, monitored their health, and protected nesting areas. It was another example of intelligence applied with respect, not force. Tyrion leaned forward. So humans survive and thrive. Not because they are strongest, but because they understand, observe, and adapt? Exactly, Mara replied. Humans' greatest strength is their mind. It allows us to face challenges that others would find overwhelming. We anticipate, prepare, and cooperate. That is why we live safely among creatures far larger or faster than ourselves. The boat drifted to a small cove, and Mara led the aliens to an observation deck overlooking a reef. Brightly colored fish swam among corals, and starfish clung to rocks below. Mara explained the delicate balance of life in the reef, noting how humans had learned to study and protect this ecosystem over centuries. Observe carefully, she said. Every movement, every behavior carries information. Humans read this information and use it to guide their actions. We respect the creatures, but we are always aware of their potential. The aliens moved quietly, marveling at the complexity. For their species, survival often meant raw power or speed. Here, intelligence, observation, and patience had far greater impact. As the sun began to set, painting the lagoon in warm hues, Mara gathered the group. Today you have seen how humans respond to challenges, she said. We face storms, currents, and unpredictable creatures, but we thrive because we prepare, observe, and cooperate. That is our ingenuity. Kelia nodded slowly. We have underestimated humans. Your strength is not in physical power, but in intelligence, skill, and teamwork. That is extraordinary, Mara smiled. And this is only the beginning. The oceans are full of lessons, but humans have learned to live safely within them. That is why Earth remains a home where we can coexist with creatures that might seem dangerous if misunderstood. As night fell, the aliens sat on the deck, listening to the gentle lapping of water against the boat. They reflected on the day, realizing that humans' ability to face challenges calmly, intelligently, and cooperatively was a form of strength unlike any other. Tyrion spoke softly. On our worlds, power is measured by technology or size. Here it is measured by knowledge, awareness, and cooperation. Humans are remarkable. Mara watched the stars emerge above the ocean, shimmering like tiny lights reflected in the water. She knew the aliens were beginning to understand the essence of human strength. It was not in domination, not in force, not in fear. It was in intelligence, observation, and teamwork. This lesson, Mara said quietly, is one they will carry with them. Humans do not need to overpower the world. We survive by understanding it, respecting it, and working together. That is our greatest strength, and it is a lesson even the most advanced species can learn from. As the boat gently rocked in the calm night waters, the aliens felt a sense of awe and inspiration. Earth's oceans had revealed another layer of life, complexity, and challenge. They had assumed human survival depended on technology or strength alone, but now they understood the truth. Humans thrived because they combined knowledge, skill, and cooperation to meet any challenge. Mara smiled quietly. Tomorrow, she thought, the aliens would learn the final lesson, how humans' wisdom, courage, and adaptability allowed them to live safely and harmoniously in a world full of both wonder and potential danger. And so, under the endless stars and the quiet pulse of the ocean, Part 4 came to a close. The aliens had witnessed human ingenuity in action, experiencing firsthand the calm, intelligent, and cooperative approach that made humans capable of thriving in any environment. The sun rose over the calm waters of the bay, casting soft gold and pink hues across the horizon. Dr. Mara Lynn stood at the edge of the dock, watching the waves gently lap against the wooden posts. The alien visitors followed her, their movements slow and deliberate. Today was the final part of their journey, and Mara intended for them to fully understand what made humans remarkable. Yesterday, you saw how humans respond to challenges at sea. Mara began. You observed our skills, our teamwork, and our intelligence. But there is one more lesson, one that shows why humans thrive in harmony with the world around them. Kelia stepped forward, her wide eyes reflecting the rising sun. We have seen how humans survive in forests and oceans, Mara. But what is this final lesson? Mara smiled. It is about understanding life itself, and knowing your place within it. Humans do not seek to dominate the world. We observe, we respect, and we adapt. That is how we live safely among creatures that could be dangerous if misunderstood. The aliens followed Mara to a small boat that would take them to a nearby coral reef. The water was clear, revealing a world alive with color and movement. Schools of fish darted among the corals, and sea turtles glided slowly beneath the surface. Even from the boat, the richness of life was overwhelming. Look closely, Mara said. Notice how each creature has its role, its patterns, its rhythms. Humans have learned to study these patterns carefully. We understand the interactions, the dangers, and the possibilities. And through this understanding, we coexist safely with life that could otherwise be unpredictable or challenging. The aliens leaned over the edge of the boat, their eyes scanning the underwater world. Tyron whispered, "It is beautiful, and so alive. We cannot imagine such complexity." Mara nodded. That complexity is what makes humans' role here extraordinary. On other worlds, survival may rely on force or technology. On Earth, survival often relies on intelligence, observation, and cooperation. Humans thrive because we respect life, not because we overpower it. They began to explore the reef carefully. Mara showed the aliens how humans could observe without disturbing, how they could study the creature's behavior, and how their patience allowed them to understand and coexist. Kelia watched a small octopus change colors as it moved among the rocks. Even this small creature, Mara said, has intelligence and adaptability. Humans recognize that all life has value, and we learn from it. That is how we remain safe and successful. Hours passed as they explored, observing the delicate balance of the reef. Mara pointed out the symbiotic relationships among species, the ways predators and prey maintained balance, and how humans carefully studied these interactions. The aliens began to understand that humans' greatest strength lay not in physical power, but in their ability to read, adapt, and respect the world around them. As they returned to the boat, Mara guided them toward the shore, where a small forest met the beach. She paused at the edge, looking out over the waves. "You have now seen land, forest, and ocean," she said. "You have witnessed humans' interaction with predators, storms, and complex ecosystems. What lesson do you take from this journey?" Kellia spoke first, her voice quiet but firm. "We thought Earth's predators were harmless, but now we understand. Humans are not only aware, they are intelligent, adaptable, and respectful. You survive and thrive not because you dominate, but because you understand. That is your true strength." Tyrion nodded in agreement. "We have traveled across galaxies, but humans' relationship with their world is unlike anything we have encountered. It is subtle, patient, and wise. Humans do not seek to overpower life, they seek to learn from it. That is extraordinary." Mara smiled, feeling a sense of quiet pride. "That is exactly the point. Earth is full of life that can challenge or inspire. Humans succeed because we observe, learn, and adapt. We do not rely solely on strength, speed, or technology. We rely on intelligence, awareness, and respect for all forms of life." The aliens fell silent, letting her words sink in. They had expected a gentle, safe planet. Instead, they had discovered a world rich with challenges and opportunities. They had learned that human survival depended not on fear or dominance, but on understanding, cooperation, and wisdom. Mara led them back to the small camp on the beach, where the sun now hung high, casting light over sand, forest, and sea. She gestured to the horizon. "Tomorrow," she said, "you will return to your ship. But remember what you have learned. Humans are remarkable not because of power, but because of knowledge, adaptability, and respect. That is what allows us to coexist with creatures and environments that could seem dangerous to others." Kellia looked out over the water, her thoughts deep. "We will carry this lesson with us, humans. You have taught us that true strength comes from understanding, not fear. That is something every species should learn," Tyrion added. "The oceans, the forests, the creatures, all are alive, intelligent, and connected. Humans navigate this world with wisdom and patience. That is a lesson we will never forget." As the day passed, the aliens spent time observing humans at work, scientists measuring tides, ecologists studying wildlife, and children playing safely on the beach. They saw how humans moved with purpose, guided by knowledge and respect. Mara's words rang true. Humans thrived not through domination, but through intelligence and harmony. When the time came for the aliens to depart, they gathered near their ship. Kellia turned to Mara, her expression one of gratitude and awe. "Thank you, Mara. We came expecting a safe, gentle world. Instead, we found life, complexity, and intelligence beyond our expectations. Humans, you are extraordinary, not because of force, but because of understanding, observation, and respect. That is something even the most advanced species should admire." Mara nodded, smiling warmly. "Remember this. Humans live in balance with the world because we respect it. We thrive not by overpowering life, but by learning from it. That is the lesson of Earth." The aliens stepped aboard their ship, their minds buzzing with new understanding. They looked down at the planet below. The forests, oceans, mountains, and cities, all alive with creatures and humans coexisting in harmony. They realized that humans were not only survivors, but stewards of their world, capable of wisdom and subtle strength beyond their imagination. As the ship lifted into the sky, the aliens glanced back one last time. Mara stood on the beach, a small figure against the vast horizon, guiding them not with force but with knowledge. The lesson was clear. Earth's predators were not harmless, but humans had learned to live safely among them, using intelligence, observation, and respect as their greatest tools. Kellia turned to Tyrion quietly. "We came expecting a gentle world, but we leave understanding the true strength of humans. They are not the strongest, but they are the wisest. That is what makes them exceptional." Tyrion nodded. "And perhaps one day other species will learn from them. That is the real power of humanity." As the ship ascended into space, the aliens reflected on their journey. They had seen Earth's beauty, its challenges, and its inhabitants. They had witnessed humans' adaptability, intelligence, and harmony with the world. And they understood finally why humans thrived, not by domination, not by fear, but by knowledge, respect, and wisdom. Mara watched the ship disappear into the sky, a quiet sense of fulfillment in her heart. The lesson had been shared. Humans had shown that strength is not always measured by power or force, but by the ability to understand, adapt, and live in harmony with the world. That was the essence of humanity, remarkable, inspiring, and true. And so, with the sun setting over the horizon and the ocean calm once more, the story concluded. The aliens left with newfound respect, the humans continued their work and life, and the Earth remained alive with the balance, intelligence, and wonder that made it home to humanity. The lesson endured. Humans were not just survivors, they were stewards, observers and masters of subtle strength, a species capable of thriving among challenges, not by brute force but by wisdom, understanding, and respect for all life.